My musical story share today is Arthur, It's Only Rock and Roll. And we started reading this story yesterday. So if you didn't watch yesterday's video, that's where the first half of this story is. So you'll have to scroll back and find yesterday's video. It's also on my YouTube channel. And today we're going to pick up right where we left off. So Francine is really mad at everyone in the band because she thinks that they're selling out. And she has decided to leave the band. That's where we left off. The next morning, Mr. Haney announced that You Stink would be performing at the city library's book sale. Francine overheard Muffy and Prunella talking about You Stink. "What happened to Francine?" asked Muffy. "Oh, she quit the band," Prunella said. "The real news is that I just got tickets to the Backstreet Boys concert." "My father's a sponsor," Muffy said, "so I get to go backstage." Meanwhile, We Stink was having its first rehearsal. "I hate to tell you guys," hollered DW, "but you stink." "No," Arthur said. "We stink. Our name is We Stink." "That's what I said," DW answered. "You stink." "Arthur, can't you rehearse outside?" shouted Mom. "We need the piano," yelled Arthur. With Francine gone, You Stink had to rehearse at Fern's house. "We can't keep playing the same thing over and over," said Mrs. McGrady. "Can anyone write music?" Molly asked, "besides Francine?" Mrs. McGrady, Fern, and Binky all shook their heads. The next day, Muffy had plans to make You Stink famous. "I'm your new manager. I've decided we'll do a video and send it to the Backstreet Boys. Then we'll go on tour with them. Then," she stopped when she saw Francine's angry face. "Sell out," Francine said to Fern and stalked away. Later that day, Francine decided to join the competition. She offered to drum for We Stink. But they hadn't played for long before Francine stopped them. "George, can't you sing on key?" she asked. "What's on key?" asked George. "You guys are terrible," said Francine. "You need more players. Good ones." "Hey, this is our band," said Buster. "If you don't think we're good enough, well, I quit." "Me too," said Arthur. At the Backstreet Boys concert that night, the reporter from Almost Live saw You Stink waiting in line. "What's new with You Stink?" she asked. "Nothing. That's the problem," said Molly. "We need a new drummer, a new song." "We do not," said Fern. "What about my new song?" asked Binky. "It hurts my ears," Molly said. The three of them began to argue. "Is this the end of You Stink?" said the reporter. "Stay tuned." Backstage, Muffy jumped into the elevator with Nick. Just as it began to move, she pushed the stop button. "What happened?" Nick asked. "We seem to have stopped," said Muffy. "So let me tell you about the deal of a lifetime for you and the boys." She pulled down a slide screen. "It's the chance to tour with my band, You Stink. Here's how the profits look." The other boys stood behind the stage curtain waiting for Nick. The audience was getting restless. "Can't you go on without Nick?" Mr. Crosswire asked. Kevin shook his head. "We need him." "Did anyone check the elevator?" asked AJ. Muffy answered the elevator phone. "Hi, Daddy," she said. "No, I haven't closed the deal yet." "The boys need Nick to start the concert," said Mr. Crosswire. "I can't hold off the crowd forever." Muffy pushed the start button, but nothing happened. She pushed it again. Still nothing. "Daddy, we really are stuck," Muffy said. She paused. "But I have an idea." Mr. Crosswire went to the microphone. "There's been a slight delay with the boys, but I'd like to announce that You Stink is here and their manager says they'd love to perform for you." "I can't go up there," gasped Binky. "Not without Francine." "You have to, Binky," said Molly. "Francine?" We really need you, Francine, said Fern. Will you come with us, please? After a moment, Francine smiled. All right, let's rock. On stage, Francine looked out at the huge crowd and froze. Francine, we need a beat, said Molly. Francine, whispered Fern. But Francine couldn't move. Then she heard a voice in her ear. It was Brian. Don't look at the crowd. Just think about the music. Francine took a deep breath and started playing. Fern began to sing. Her voice was shaky. Then Kevin's voice joined in. Then AJ and Howie D began to sing too. The boys harmonized with You Stink and even made up a new verse. The song was better than ever. By the end of the song, Nick had joined everyone on stage and the crowd was cheering wildly. You Stink got to watch the rest of the concert from backstage. Wow, Francine said. They're really good. It's only the beginning for You Stink, Muffy said. Today, Elwood City. Tomorrow, the world. No way, said Binky. I don't like crowds. I have to quit. Me too, said Molly. This blister on my finger is killing me. And I miss playing bingo, said Mrs. McGrady. But everyone loved us, said Fern. Yeah, Francine agreed. Are you sure you guys want to quit? Molly, Binky, and Mrs. McGrady all nodded. After the show, Francine apologized to the boys. I'm sorry I called you sellouts, Francine said. You guys are really good musicians. It's okay to want fame. Just don't forget the most important part, music. Howie D handed Muffy her pie chart and slides. Very professional. You could be our manager, he joked. Did you hear that? Said Muffy. Maybe in a few years, I can reunite You Stink and the Backstreet Boys on tour. It's actually pretty smart for You Stink to break up. It'll create demand. It'll create buzz. The end.